Which is true, but I'd be remiss to not acknowledge a few challenges. Those being raising children, trying to fit it all in, and not being the traditional face of a farmer. I would also suggest that being a woman in ag is similar to being a woman in any traditionally male-dominated industry, trucking, military, construction, and many others. Our story isn't that different from theirs. I've been known to say I'm always excited to see women in ag do great things, but I do look forward to the time it's not a headline. I read a blog called The Dirt this week, and the author wrote about this topic. She says, the conversation should no longer be about being a woman in ag. It's about being in agriculture, period. Kudos to Oregon, but I think we've been at this point for a while now, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. I'm very grateful for the hardworking women and men that came before us and recognize that everyone has a different story. Mine is different than Brenda's, and our roles are different on our farms. But don't you think, Brenda, there are many of us that have similar stories, and that starts with, my dad treated me like any other boy on the farm. I can say that's true for me and my 3 sisters, and I have girlfriends that will say the same. Our former First Lady, Michelle Obama, has said, change happens when a father realizes the potential of his daughter. I applaud the ag community for that. I also think that women have some natural traits that make us very valuable in the natural resource community. Many of those are the same reason you, Brenda, have been the face of campaigns. Simply put, you're a mom. And Brenda, maybe you should point out the obvious.
That there are 2 women standing up here today.
That is correct.
So it is true that it is very different being a woman in ag. But our challenges that we face aren't because we're women. It's because that we're living in a state that unfortunately continues to get so much more unfriendly to business all the time. Personally, yes, I'm a business owner and I'm a woman, but I'm also, like was stated before, I'm the HR department, I'm the secretary, the safety trainer, the tractor driver, and the sprayer operator. I'm who my employees come to, with their really big questions, and I'm who they come to when they need more toilet paper in the bathroom. So it really runs the gamut of our jobs there. One of the biggest challenges I face is wearing all of those hats. I think that legislators and agencies look at things like it's just one more form to fill out. It's one more thing to track, like unpaid sick time. And they say, well, there's only 3 ways to count if you're a large or small employer in the state. So that shouldn't be too difficult, right? With seasonal employment, of course not. And maybe it's not. Maybe, we're just way behind. But I don't think that's the case. I think the problem is that one more thing on top of the thousands of other things that they continually regulate us on. And it also, it lacks this common sense that we really built our businesses on for generations. And that is a really tough pill to swallow. And then that whole other layer, the whole other hat of being a mom. And it really adds to that balancing act that Shelly and I know both struggle with very often. But I've found that working together a lot of times within the industry as women, we can sometimes really hit it out of the park.
Brenda, remember the time you needed to speak to the legislature on behalf of Farm Bureau regarding pesticide usage a few years back. You were pregnant, and who was 1, you had no child care, but knew how important it was to testify that day. I'm pretty sure Kathy Hadley and I took care of Hoot while you testified. You were tired, you were busy, and you needed help. In fact, I remember we couldn't figure out how to get the stroller into a door into the Capitol building. Yeah, turns out it's on the side.
Yeah,
you're stuck. We're stuck. But you did it because we needed you to. And one of the reasons you were able to do it is because you had people supporting you and friends to help you out. The point is, advocating on behalf of the entire agriculture industry can be exhausting. You do it, I do it, we all do it because it benefits us, our farm, and even more importantly, our future farm.
Thank you, Shelly, for saying that, and thank you for your help that day. As a woman, as a mom, and as an advocate, I like to thank you for all of your support. I can't even tell you how humbling it was to even be asked to come up here to speak in front of you farmers, in front of those who are working within our industry and supporting us every day. It is not going unnoticed, I can assure you of that. Because farming is not just a job, it is a way of life. It is a way of life that is hard to explain, it is exhausting in its ability to encompass everything, our whole lives, our whole outlook, and it is also rewarding as hell at the end of the day, I have to tell you. I wish I could come up here after all of these speakers and we could have just had a quick PowerPoint of the top 10 reasons why it's going to be so easy to farm here in Oregon in the future. And unfortunately, as you all heard, it's not the case. I think that our fight here is continually beginning, continually changing, and it will be continually challenged. My story started with me coming back to the farm. really realizing what an important legacy we had here in Oregon. I moved from Los Angeles back to St. Paul, and it just continued with my passion for an industry that has brought me so much joy. And it's continually evolving. I got married, I became a mom, I grew as a farmer and as a businesswoman. So what's your story? I mean, to you farmers out here, you guys are 2% of the population. Your life is a story within itself. Every day that you head out into your fields is a day that you can take a picture, and I can guarantee you that that photo of your everyday is gonna look like heaven on earth to those folks up in the high-rise wearing high heels looking at their Facebook feed. All of you who aren't farmers, I need you to really understand what sharing our story for us with that Facebook meme or whatever it is, it's important. We need your reach. You all are friends with people who need to hear from us also. The challenges that we face may seem and really are incredibly daunting, but I also know that my grandpa, he was the first generation on our farm, he faced challenges every day his feet hit the soil, every single day. And my dad did the same, and they are both resilient. So I hope that with our future here, for my boys as the 4th generation, that they're gonna get just as dirty with the dirt from our fields as I had the opportunity to. But we need an industry that's willing to work for that, not just for their own farm, but for their entire industry.
I'm glad Brenda mentions her grandpa, because my story almost always includes my grandpa on so many levels. My dad has said to me many times, Shelly, Grandpa Merrill worked hard, I worked hard, we just kept our heads down and kept to ourselves. We thought working hard was enough, and that our elected officials and the community around us were grateful for our work and were like-minded. We're standing here today to say that's just not the case. If my past generation had been more outspoken, would we be where we are today? I can't say, but I do know this is where we are, and I have a simple yet great ask. Please, will you get more involved? We need you. Every person out there has a passion for agriculture in some form, otherwise you wouldn't be here today. You are smart and you are passionate. You might not want to speak in front of people, I understand that. But you could write a letter, you could make a phone call, maybe you could join a local commission, a county farm bureau. Brenda and I know a lot about what we do, but Oregon agriculture is so much bigger than that. I have an action item for you. I want each and every one of you to do at least one thing that you didn't do last year. Go to a county farm bureau member and watch a public testimony hearing. Read about the Adopt a Farmer program and maybe join it. Answer Jenny Dressler's phone calls. Our Ag chapter, start a Twitter account and start sharing your farm story. The opportunities are truly endless. We both appreciate you listening to our story today, and our great hope is that it inspires you to share yours. Thank you.